The following program is being brought to you on the World Talk Radio Network. For more information about our network and to check out additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit worldtalkradio.com. The World Talk Radio Network, where the world comes to talk. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the World Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
Get ready to pump your energy and jumpstart your dreams with positive, uplifting, life-changing talk radio on the world's most popular power hour, Starstyle. Be the star you are. The Oprah of the airwaves, Cynthia Brian, and her sidekick daughter, Heather Brittany, deliver lessons of success spanning the generations of the globe in their information-packed Tea for Two, a mother-daughter brew. In other segments, Cynthia interviews real-life trailblazers, authors, and experts with the courage and vision who show you how to build a road to fulfillment through their unique books and services. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll be informed and entertained. For your free lifestyle empowerment coaching session right here on the airwaves, turn up the volume, relax, sit back, and get ready to be inspired. Because Starstyle, be the star you are, starts right now.
Never say never, live your dream.
Well, hello, Power Partners. Welcome to radio's finest program of positive book talk, Starstyle, be the star you are. I am Cynthia Brian, and of course, I am so happy to be here and be your personal growth success coach, bringing you the authors, the experts, and professionals who absolutely change your life for the better. We have a thrilling and adventurous show for you today. Coming right up is author Brooks Olbrys. He's going to return with his adventures of Blue Ocean Bob. And this time he's going to discuss some of the fun and simple ways that we can teach and incorporate lessons of success into the everyday lives of our kids. And those are lessons that'll stay with them for the rest of their lives. And we all know we need that. And in our second segment, you're going to meet a real-life secret agent from Great Britain. He was a MI6 secret agent, Matthew Dunn. He has released his first book, SpyCatcher, sure to be the thriller of the year. So I guess only a real spy can catch another spy. And then finally, Heather Brittany will be with us for the final minutes where we're going to talk more about tornadoes, twisters, and then Operation Disaster Relief. So sit back, turn up the volume, and come play with us in our sandbox. Well, of course, you want your kids to be confident, to be good people, to be enthusiastic, and to have a life full of happiness. But how about helping them discover their passions and their purposes early in life? It's not something that just young adults and adults need to do. Why can't we start with preschoolers and develop positive attitudes to help them achieve whatever it is that they put their minds to? So Brook Olbrys came up with this bright idea. And he never expected to be an author. But after having his own child and studying the philosophies of Bob Proctor and Napoleon Hill and Earl Nightingale, he realized that the teachings of these wise adults could be easily translated into a language for kids so that they could implement it and really enjoy life more. He began with the book, The Adventures of Blue Ocean Bob. The rest, as they say, is history. And, of course, Brooks is with us. Welcome back, Brooks, to Starstyle. Be the star you are.
Thank you, Cynthia. It's great to be back.
I've given you an awfully long intro. Sorry about that. But first of all, I want to say thank you in front of our worldwide audience for being the first to jump on board to help the children, the schools, and the clinics in Joplin, Missouri that were so affected by the terrible tornadoes. You were unbelievably enthusiastic about helping. You wanted to get Blue Ocean Bob, The Adventures of Blue Ocean Bob, out there and spread his wonderful verse. You just jumped on board, and I just want to acknowledge you and thank you from everyone because this book is an amazing book, and you're there to help. So thanks, Brooks.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, and I feel like Blue Ocean Bob has a message that's positive and looks forward, and I just know children in that situation, that's what they need, and so it just gave me a lot of happiness knowing that the book would be going into their hands and that it would really have the impact that I hope it can have, particularly for people who may be down at the moment but have bright futures ahead of them.
Exactly, and that's why I contacted you first, because I really, as you know, I'm a big fan of the Adventures of Blue Ocean Bob and your whole upcoming series that you're doing through Children's Success Unlimited, because kids really are stressed and overstimulated, and today they have like too many activities going on. They don't really get time to be kids. And what you've done with the Adventures of Blue Ocean Bob in your first book, Blue Ocean Bob Discovers His Purpose, is give kids some time to relax, to wind down, and to enjoy the story. So let's talk about how you discovered your passion and purpose in deciding to write for children.
Well, I mean, it was a combination of my own personal passion for kind of personal development and always looking for a better way to do things, a way to be more content with my own life, and also, having a young son and seeing him develop from when I started this project. He was around 4.5, 5 years old, and reading him books on a daily basis and thinking, wow, this information could be, translated for kids. And my thought was, many times when I'd be reading my son books at night, it was the rhyming books that relaxed him and got him in a mood to just kind of, get into that dreamland that he wanted to enter. But he still, was paying attention to what the messages were, and particularly Dr. Seuss is great for that, but there are others. And so when I kind of put two and two together, I said, this would be great. I actually took the idea to Bob Proctor at a kind of a chance meeting, and it wasn't my intention to ask Bob if I could be the one to do it. It was more just to tell Bob, this is great information. Maybe there's someone who could do this for kids. And that's when he said to me, Brooks, why don't you do it? Can you do it? And handed me a gold card.
That's a great challenge, isn't it, Brooks? Because you in your day life, you're an attorney, you're an investment banker in Manhattan. You have a really busy schedule. But what a wonderful challenge to have someone like Bob Proctor say to you, come on, you could do this. You've got a child.
Yes, and it must have been something, as Bob says, we all have something in us that may be undiscovered, just waiting to come out. And I think for me that was the case. I've always loved writing. I've always, loved kids. And I've always loved personal development concepts. I studied them even as far back as high school. I had Napoleon Hill's Law of Success book that I read. So it was something that was there, but Bob, as I've said before, was just kind of the catalyst that brought it out. And once he did that, then I've just kind of been on this path and feel very passionate about it and really, really enjoy it and see it as a complement to what I do, in the business world.
Well, the thing about the Adventures of Blue Ocean Bob is the positive aspect of it. And as you said, the whole book is written in verse. It rhymes. And I know for my children, when they were growing up, like you said with the Dr. Seuss books or Goodnight Moon or any of them, the ones that the kids really remember are the ones that rhyme, because that way when they're in preschool and they're not even reading yet, they learn the rhymes and then they start understanding the words because they think that they are actually reading. So using verse is a wonderful way to engage children.
It is. Now since I've been on this course for a couple of years, or almost a couple of years, and I've been to several children's book conferences and things like that, you often hear, don't try to rhyme, because people are, I guess, fearful that if the rhyme isn't good, it doesn't work, or you never can compare it to Dr. Seuss. I mean, he's just, in and of himself amazing. But I have to say, I have an amazing editor, and I was lucked out. I found an incredible editor, Emma Walton Hamilton, who is also a children's book author and consultant and editor, freelance editor. And so that has allowed me to have the confidence that, we can do it this way, and the verse can work, and it can be done properly. And, it's like anything, you need help. You need a lot of help along the way to get it where you want it to be.
Well,
for me, it just came out in verse, and people have said maybe you want to, write it as prose, and it just doesn't work for me yet as prose. Maybe one day it will.
Well, not for this book, you don't know what your future books will hold, but this one, the way that the rhymes came out, they just flowed, and it just goes from one page to the next as we follow Blue Ocean Bob on his adventure to really discover who he is. Now, what I'm crazy about with this book and with your whole idea is the fact that you're bringing to young children. And this book is primarily aimed for young children, preschool, probably up to 3rd grade, although as an adult, I love it too. And I love how colorful it is and everything. This can really help set dreams for children and help them start thinking about something that's bigger than them and outside themselves. So tell us about your journey of creating the ocean, why, saving the ocean and, the whole environmental thing was important first, and how Bob finds his purpose through using animals and sea creatures.
Yeah, I think I've always been fascinated by the oceans, love to scuba dive, love to travel to, ocean destinations or island destinations. My wife's family is from Colombia, South America, so that also had an influence on some of the images in the first book from an island we went to off the coast of Cartagena. But I also believe, as humans, we occupy, 1/3 or a little less than, certainly less than a half of the land masses of the globe. The rest is the oceans, and we don't really pay as much attention to it as we should. And I just think there's so much to learn, and there's so much to preserve, and really just get kids focused on, for the future. And that's why I believe that, the ocean theme was important, and it just came naturally to me. And I love the sea creatures. I've always loved sea turtles and dolphins and walruses and all those kinds of things. So putting them in the book was very easy for me to imagine them as characters who speak.
Well, and also I really feel that using the sea is really critical, because the sea is really our almost like a final frontier for us. We really don't know a whole lot about it, and teaching our children to appreciate the sea life and the animals and the whole ecosystem and how everything works is critical, because we tend to be afraid of sharks or be afraid of something, but instead everything works together. So we really have to work it together. We have to keep it together. Now, tell us about your upcoming series and how they're going to flow and what we can be expecting.
Yeah, so when Bob Proctor said, start writing, I kind of couldn't stop. And so I ended up writing 10 volumes so far of stories. And after I did the first book, and I really enjoyed doing it and I really liked it, I also felt like there was this information. It was more than just, a picture book for kids that they can fall asleep to and enjoy. There was a philosophy here, and I wanted to get it out sooner rather than later to kids, and in a way that would be digestible. So what I've decided to do with the next book is put the next 5, actually the first story as well, with some slight edits, and then the next 4 stories into a book which will be a transitional chapter book, or think of it as a picture book with chapters, or it's still going to be heavy on the illustrations, but it's going to have the 5 stories, and it's basically going to take Bob from discovering his purpose to finding a mentor, to having to do a few tasks for the mentor, to finally getting hired as the assistant to this marine biologist on the island. And the topics are purpose, vision, goals, attitude, and persistence. So the story kind of flows together, and also I think those 5 are the real building blocks for kind of the philosophy, the positive thinking philosophy that Napoleon Hill set out, or others have developed. And it's a lot of fun working on it, and I'm really looking forward to doing it. And I have actually a publisher / distributor called Greenleaf Books Group that is helping me on this next one, and as well as Emma Walton Hamilton editing. So I feel like it's going to be a really good product when it's ready, and hopefully in 2012.
Well, the thing about it is you are building a foundation. I really feel that each book is like a building block for creating minds that can expand and grow and dream and give them life skills, because we need to have persistence in life. We have to be perseverant and tenacious. We have to have the right attitudes. We have to have a vision. We have to set goals. So if you're starting your children at an early age and making it fun, then you're setting a parameter for their life where they really can be successful. And Brooks, that's to me what I think is very, very important about this. We're talking to Brooks Olbrys, Olbrys, and he is the creator and author of The Adventures of Blue Ocean Bob. And as you heard, the first book here is Blue Ocean Bob Discovers His Purpose, and then the next book is coming up. I want to give your website out so that people can go there. It's a wonderful website, Brooks.
Thank you.
You've really been working hard in developing it. So let's send people to your website, and you can get the book anywhere. And also you have cards, right? You have these memory cards. We should talk a little bit about that. But the website, first of all, is blueoceanbob.com. And there you can read about Blue Ocean Bob, this book, and then you can find other tips for parents. And this is a great book to have in schools or for parents to read to their kids, and of course for libraries. You know, every child. This should be on everybody's bookshelf.
Well, it just showed up on the iPad yesterday, and it's another e outlets as well. So hopefully, you know, it can get out to people that way too.
Well, and you know, it's interesting because young kids are really into this whole, you know, ebook thing. I haven't grasped it that well yet, but the younger generation definitely are. So it's good that it's there. Just tell us quickly about the memory cards.
Yeah, it's just a set that goes with the first story, but has some of the characters that are coming up in the next book. And it's a set of memory cards matching, but you also can play like an old dock game, which is, you know, basically old maid. And it's just a nice, colorful card set, and each card has a small phrase on it from the book. So something like "look for more" or "choose your thoughts." So the idea there is to kind of reinforce some of these ideas with the cards. And as I've read, you know, many times, you know, we learn through phrases. So I try to put some of the key phrases onto the cards with the images. So
the reality is they're truly affirmations. They're affirmations for doing well and for doing good and to be growing. Well, Brooks, thank you so much for coming back on the show. The book is The Adventures of Blue Ocean Bob. Go to blueoceanbob.com to find out about the upcoming books that Brooks is writing. And again, I just want to thank you so much for participating in Operation Disaster Relief and helping all those schools and clinics in Joplin, Missouri after the tornadoes. You really are amazing, Brooks.
I appreciate it. I just want to thank you for all the support you've given to Blue Ocean Bob.
Well, it's my pleasure. I love it. I really feel that this is a classic book that, you know, with some time, everybody is going to know about it. So, The Adventures of Blue Ocean Bob by Brooks Olbrys. Brooks, we will be in touch. We know we'll be in touch.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. BlueOceanBob.com. And when we come back from break, a high-octane trip across the globe is going to await you when former British MI6 Field Intelligence Officer Matthew Dunn joins us from Great Britain with his thriller SpyCatcher. Don't go away. I'm Cynthia Brian. This is Starstyle. Be the star you are. We'll be right back.
What's going on behind the scenes with your favorite World Talk Radio show or host? For the latest news, visit the iRadio blog at iradioblog.com.
Apathy, violence, and negative messages are everyday occurrences in our country. You can be a changemaker when you dare to care by supporting Be the Star You Are charity, a 501c3 that empowers women, families, and youth through improved literacy, positive media, and tools for living. Visit www.bethestarur.org to find out how you can make a difference in our world. Everyone counts. That web address again is www.bethestarur.org. BeTheStarYouAre.org.
Be the star you are. Light up the flame that burns.
Get a positive prescription for living and discover a cure for adversity when you make a difference in the lives of others by donating to Be the Star You Are, a 501c3 top-rated charity dedicated to empowering women, families, and youth through increased literacy, positive media, and tools for living. www.bethestarur.org. All donations are tax deductible. www.bethestarur.org.
Be the lucky star you are.
You're listening to the World Talk Radio Variety Channel.
Be the star you are. You are the star.
Positive, uplifting, life-changing talk radio. It's the Power Hour on Starstyle. Be the star you are. Now, back to the show with the Oprah of the airwaves, Cynthia Brian.
Well, thank you for staying with me. I am Cynthia Brian, and this is where the world comes to talk and to listen. And we are going across the pond right now with former British Secret Intelligence Service agent who draws on his years of experience recruiting and running agents, coordinating and participating in deep covert operations throughout the world, fighting international dangerous criminals and terrorists. And he has written a book, SpyCatcher. His name is Matthew Dunn. Welcome to Starstyle. Be the star you are, Matthew.
Thank you, and thanks for having me on your show.
I am so excited, as are our listeners, to have you on here. Wow, wow, wow. What a phenomenal book you have written. I loved it. From the moment I started it, I just want you to know, I couldn't put it down. I had to stay up all night long to finish it, and I didn't want it to end. This is a fast-page, sizzling page-turner. You've done it.
Thank you. I do apologize for keeping you up all night, although that was the intention with the story.
Well, your background as a spy with MI6, of course, is reminiscent of James Bond, and this is going to be, people are going to really relate to that. And you are using your real name, at least that's what we've been told, for this book. Is that not dangerous for you to do?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't an easy decision to take to write under my own name, but the reason I did it was, firstly, I'm not a spy anymore, so I thought it would be cowardly to hide behind a pseudonym. Second, I thought that my readers deserved to know who I was. And third, when I was a MI6 operative, everything I did was under a different identity, different names. So I thought that for once, when writing a novel, it would be good to do something in my own name. So you're absolutely right. There is a threat. There is a real threat, and it's not a light one. But I'll deal with that if there is a problem.
Well, I hate to think how you would deal with it. Reading this book, you have to be so incredibly well trained. And even though the agents and you used code names, didn't anybody know your face, or do you have a whole new face now too?
No, my face is the same. It's probably aged a bit, but it's the same face.
It's the same face. Well, it's a very handsome face, Matthew.
Oh, thank you.
Your character, Will, who is Spartan in SpyCatcher, who's just this wonderful, multidimensional, extremely fleshed out character who is, who can be absolutely deadly, but he's empathetic and caring, and he's really out just to save the world. Is he based on a combination of multiple characters you knew? Is he based a lot on how you had to operate? Tell us about Will, about Spartan.
Yeah, to answer your first question, he is very much inspired by the person that I used to be, and I do stress used to be. My circumstances now are very different. I'm a single father and obviously a full-time writer, but he was certainly drawn from the lifestyle that I had as an operative. In terms of his character, he has a very almost black and white view of the world in terms of what is right and what is wrong, and to a large extent that is drawn from what he has to do and the agents or assets, as I think you call them in the United States, that he has to run, whose lives are dependent on him. So he's got a very clear sense. It's almost like the medieval knights that this is what he has to do, and that propels him through the missions. he is a complex individual. He's looking for, to some extent, looking for more than he has in his everyday life, particularly in terms of he toys mentally with the idea of actually having love in his life. But his problem, his conundrum, is that if he allows people to get close to him, and indeed people to love him, then they may die as a result of the work that he has to do. They may be fallouts, casualties, etc. So he's a complex individual, and I will be exploring that character and developing further over the course of subsequent novels.
Well, that brings me to my next question, because throughout the book he is exploring that. He does. It's very obvious, that he thinks to himself, "Gee, could I fall in love? Could I have a family?" And he has that fear. When this came, your decision, you ran over 70 missions, and they were all successful. And when we say they were all successful, obviously if they're not successful, the agent usually dies. So I guess you have to be successful. But was it difficult for you to transition from being this world-traveling, jet-setter spy to becoming a father?
Well, to pick up on your first point there, as you say, all of the missions I completed were successful. But just to put that into context, they were successful in terms of the objectives that I had and that I was set. But that doesn't mean people didn't die in the process. So defining success obviously depends on which way you look at it. In terms of the transition from working in the secret world to doing what I'm doing now, it was a gradual transition because I left 10 years ago and I went into business in the City of London and then latterly in the Middle East, where I set up certain consultancies and ultimately became chief executive of an international firm. So there was a buffer in place there. But I have to say, where I am now, being a single father, I live in the south coast of England, writing and looking after my children, and writing about the world that I used to know and the world that I was involved in, and it was a relentless, very dangerous world. I'm glad I'm where I am now, as opposed to where I was in the past.
It's so fascinating. We're talking to author Matthew Dunn, who has written this absolutely phenomenal thriller called SpyCatcher, which I truly believe is going to be the best thriller of the year. I know it's getting great reviews, and I totally give it a thumbs up. And getting to what you're talking about here, it seems that, at least from what I'm reading, that agents aren't paid a whole lot of money. What is the draw, and how are agents chosen? Again, if there's anything you can't talk about, because I think you probably had to get certain things cleared from the Secret Service and MI6 and intelligence in order to write the book. But I think that people would love to know what makes a great spy. What makes a secret agent?
Well, as you say, I have to get clearance. I'm still in contact with MI6, the British intelligence organization equivalent of the CIA, and I'm on very good terms with them. And certainly in terms of writing the novel, it was very important to me not to put in anything that could compromise existing operations and existing operatives. So that's a key overriding issue for me. But in terms of the types of people they recruit, as you say, we were not terribly well paid, but they look for the brightest and the best of the country in exactly the same way that the CIA does in the States. And those individuals that are recruited into the fold of the secret intelligence world are obviously patriotic, highly motivated, but very, very, that they are lateral thinkers. They are very distinct types of characters. Everybody varies. So I think, obviously, I can only draw from my own experience, but ultimately it's people that really feel that they want to stretch themselves to the ultimate limit. and certainly based on my experience of what I did in British intelligence, that is the life that you lead, and it's a real life, and it is it's not so much an adventure. It is there are real casualties in terms of what you do.
What about, Matthew, what about double agents? Something that when reading SpyCatcher, I felt that our protagonist, Will Spartan, had almost a sixth sense about people, places, situations, and is that something that a good secret agent would be able to develop? Is that you can really think through things, so it's never emotional, it's just really how to succeed on your mission?
Well, I think that's a complex question because I think there is a lot of emotion in the work of espionage. The people that I would run, the foreign nationals, the people that I would recruit to spy on their country, the relationship I had with them was very intense because they would be, whether male, female, young, old, whatever, irrespective of their background, they would be putting their lives in my hands, obviously, because if they were caught by their countrymen, they would have been executed without doubt, and probably their family, their extended family as well, would have been executed. So it's a very intense situation. As an operative, you're asking people like that to really to spy on their country, to go much further than the ordinary individual would go in terms of delivering intelligence, secret intelligence to you. So it's a very precarious and very tense and very intense relationship you have there. In terms of the objectives, yes, you have to be very, very calculated. You have to really look at the bottom line of what is it that you want to achieve, because the objectives that an operative, as I was, the objectives you've given, are very, very serious. They relate to things like, are we going to, is our country going to be under attack from cells or from a state? So that they're not light issues in any way whatsoever. So you have to do everything you possibly can to get the intelligence or get the result that you're looking for. But the process of doing that is a very complicated one, and it relies ultimately on human beings who, of course, are complicated beings, that they have their own agendas, their own motivation, their own issues, their own concerns. So it's most certainly not an easy process.
Well, this is why SpyCatcher is so fascinating because, and I'm not going to give anything away, everyone has to read it, SpyCatcher by Matthew Dunn, but there are very, very big stakes at the end of these missions. And as you said, that it's human beings that are dealing with them, but the balance of a nation lies in the success of the mission that you are accomplishing. And it must be very challenging to prepare mentally and physically and emotionally. I mean, you have to have a lot of arms training, and I mean, Will seemed like a man of steel. He was shot so many times and knifed and had so many things happen to him, yet he kept going. Is that something you have to just have physical strength as well as emotional and mental just to be part of this organization?
Yeah, I mean, it's yes, physical strength, but mental strength, I think, is even more important. And what I didn't want to do with the central character, Will Cochrane, was present him as a almost sort of cardboard cutout, male, testosterone-driven type of character, because
he's not at all. He's very human.
Well, thank you for saying that. That I think is what I wanted to do in terms of projecting a realistic portrayal of what it's like to be an operative. So yes, you have to go beyond what normal people can do, both physically and crucially mentally. And that is most certainly true in terms of the types of people that they recruit into MI6 and the CIA and other Western intelligence organizations. So that's an accurate portrayal. Obviously, in terms of SpyCatcher, the novel, the story, it's fiction, it's a story, and first and foremost, where I sit now, I am a storyteller. But obviously that does draw heavily from my background. And what I really wanted to capture, amongst many things in terms of writing the story, was that MI6 operatives, that they're a very unusual breed of creature, that they will never give up, and they will go beyond the limits of normal people, even other people that operate in the secret world. And crucially, they believe that anything is possible.
And Matthew, this is what I loved so much, is I felt the entire time I really wanted him to be my friend. I really thought, I did. I thought, wow, he loved his cup of tea. I would like to have a cup of tea with Will. And boy, if you wanted somebody to have your back, it would be him. I have one more question I wanted to ask you, just in light of the recent helicopter crash in Afghanistan with the 22 Navy SEALs that were killed. One of those was actually a friend of my son. And so it was very devastating. But
I'm sorry to hear that.
When you hear something like this, maybe you can't comment on it, but it just seems like there had to be something. Is that sometimes a sign of some kind of double agent at work, that information was given out? And maybe you can't comment and you don't have to, but it just seems so odd that an entire, 30 people would be obliterated like that.
Yeah, I don't have the facts to hand on that. I would personally think that it was probably, and this adds to the tragedy of that situation, that it was probably, as with other events in Afghanistan and Pakistan, simply a situation of Taliban shooting a helicopter down without necessarily knowing who was in that. So I would suspect it was probably random, although deliberate attack on the United States, obviously, but random in terms of the target within that. And of course, the tragedy there is that it was a helicopter carrying such superbly trained operatives. But I would doubt it was a deliberate attack on SEAL Team 6. I couldn't imagine the Taliban had that kind of intelligence.
Well, Matthew, your book is phenomenal. The book is SpyCatcher. The author is Matthew Dunn. He's working on many more. I think we have a lot. We're going to see a lot of you in the future. Do you want to mention anything that's coming up, or should we just stick with SpyCatcher for now?
Well, SpyCatcher is out. It came out last Tuesday, so in the US, so it's on the bookshelves now. And my second book, which deals with a potential war between Russia and America, that will be coming out next year, and that book is completed. It's with my publishers. I'm halfway through my third book, so the stories are well underway, and it's my intention to take the central character, Will Cochrane, through a number of different stories. It could be 10, 15, 20 novels. I've got lots of ideas bubbling there. So I hope your readers, your listeners enjoy the novel. And also I just wanted to add that I think your program, your slot, is a great concept, and it's very important, not least because of what's going on in the UK right now with the riots amongst disaffected youth, that literacy and promoting values is hugely important. So I think it's a very worthwhile program, and I'm delighted to have been on the program.
Thank you, Matthew. We're actually going to talk about the riots in London and youth and this whole concept in our next segment with Heather Brittany coming right up. But for now, I want to thank you, Matthew Dunn. The book is SpyCatcher. We have many more books that we are going to be reading from him. And Matthew, I hope it's made into a movie, a series of movies. I think this could be another James Bond. This is the modern day. I like it. Thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you very much. Thanks indeed. Thank you. Bye-bye.
It was great, Matthew. When we come back from break, Heather will be with us. We'll be talking about the London riots and also tornadoes and twisters and Operation Disaster Relief. Don't go away. I'm Cynthia Brian. This is Starstyle. Be the Star You Are. We will be right back.
Now
Now you don't have to stay linked to your desktop or laptop. Take World Talk Radio on the go and listen anywhere. Get our mobile app for iPhone, BlackBerry, or Android at the Apple iTunes App Store, BlackBerry App World, or Android Market.
Business Bites. Here's Cynthia Brian.
Do you know the 10 tips of don't when you're interviewing for a job? Do you have a job interview coming up? Last week I spoke to a large group of unemployed professionals at Experienced Unlimited, which is sponsored by the Employment Development Department. And here are some of the 10 tips not to do on your next interview. So don't walk in with a know-it-all, egotistic attitude. Don't exaggerate your qualifications or your experience. Don't start off with questions about salary and benefits. Don't come unprepared and offer lame excuses. Don't give the impression that you have no career direction. Don't come back with shallow or vague answers. Don't say you have no questions for the interviewer. Don't talk more than you listen. Don't dress in anything less than your professional best. And finally, don't show up without knowledge of the job or the company. And I want to just add one more thing. If you're out looking for a job, have a business card made with your name and contact information on it. Remember, you are the star of your own performance. Turn your passions into profits. I'm Cynthia Brian from Starstyle with another Business Bite. Visit starstyle.us or call 925-377-STAR for coaching.
Dreams? Want to create a life you love but don't know how to begin? Lifestyle coach and personal growth expert Cynthia Brian has jump-started the lives and careers of clients for over 2 decades with her signature Starstyle consultations with personalized sessions by phone or in person. You'll turn your passions into profits. Visit www.cynthiabrian.com or call 925-377-STAR. That's cynthiabrian.com or call 925-377-7827. Cynthia Brian is your guide on the side. www.cynthiabrian.com. You can be the star you are.
Now you don't have to stay linked to your desktop or laptop. Take World Talk Radio on the go and listen anywhere. Get our mobile app for iPhone, BlackBerry, or Android at the Apple iTunes App Store, BlackBerry App World, or Android Market.
Be the star you are. You are the star.
Turn up the volume, grab a seat, and get ready to be challenged, inspired, and motivated to greatness. It's Power Party time on Starstyle. Be the star you are with your hosts, the mother-daughter dynamic duo, Cynthia Brian and Heather Brittany.
Well, we are playing in the playground. I'm Cynthia Brian. This is our Tea for Two segment, and Heather Brittany has been waiting. Hi, Heather.
Hello.
I'm sorry to have kept you on hold so long, but we had 2 amazing guests, and of course, Matthew Dunn is all the way from England and is a former spy, so we just couldn't stop it. But as you heard him talk about, he was really thrilled that we have a program with these positive messages in light of even what's happening with the riots in England. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about the twisters and tornadoes and Operation Disaster Relief, but why don't we talk a little bit about how social networking kind of fueled what happened in London with these riots. And my gut feeling is that, and this is why I've been talking to my teens about btsya.com, our new Express Yourself site. If young people had more places where they could connect and communicate and express themselves, maybe this wouldn't be happening. I want to get your input on this.
Yeah, well, I mean, my input definitely puts into what Mr. Dunn said regarding literacy and education. A lot of this stuff, I feel a lot of the actions were uneducated actions-wise, but needing that positive media is, the whole origination of the rioting of the shooting of a young black man, however, who was involved in a gang, in a known gang and in drug trafficking. And then there's been various reports regarding if this young individual was armed or not, that he was shot and he was African American. And of course that outraged many people. And so their view was to protest, to riot. And sometimes things that, start as a peaceful protest that start out small, eventually it's usually, the loudest person who does not speak for the entire group. It's just whoever is the loudest who makes the scene, the one who drops the glass, slowly becomes that snowball that really becomes it. And as what's gone on for the last week, as these violent riots, it just more what people were upset about has returned violent, has spread throughout, through all of, to various towns. That really it's leaving people baffled of that people are just breaking things and causing fires and looting with no reason. Nothing isn't even related to the original cause, to the original uproar anymore.
And that's why I think it's so important, if we can get good resources to young people at a young age, just like Brooks Olbrys was just on with his book, Blue Ocean Bob, which is really about finding your purpose, and his goal is to get kids, like in preschool doing that, which I think is important. And if you start young, they won't be so violent. They'll have a method to get out their aggression.
Yeah, and exactly, and I think very much so it relates back to Dr. King of there's something definitely if you feel any kind of political injustice or if something you stand for or if you feel, a belief of yours has been disrespected, there are powerful ways without involving violence to accomplish something. So Martin Luther King, Dr. King was very big about these peaceful protests and, of coming together and about how powerful words are and the literacy of words and education. And I think a lot of times people's message, though, if they were, upset about a particular cause, involving violence and dangerous and looting and all this stuff that completely no one remembers the cause anymore. Now these people that may have had this original point of trying to prove something, it all falls behind and now they're given a negative light. And so I think a lot of that gets into literacy and positive literacy and improving children's vocabulary and that there's other outlets beyond violence.
I want to send people to Express Yourself, and this is for, it's a new website for young people that was established by the teens of Be the Star You Are charity. You go to btsya.com. You can write about anything. You can submit your creative writing, your songs, your music, your video, and it really is what it means. It's a place for you to communicate. There'll be pen pals you can do. But that's just one method, I think. But I want to, talking about violence, I want to just switch over to the tornadoes because I want to give a little bit of time to the Twisters and then some of the work that Operation Disaster Relief has done. Because tornadoes are nature's most violent storm, right? And even though they occur throughout the world, they're mostly found in the United States. So tell us about what you know about Twisters and...
Yeah, no, and regarding that, what kind of brought us to this topic, if people are thinking, why are you going for one thing, is just what Be the Star You Are. So earlier this year, the United States, not to mention this crazy economy and stocks that we're going through, it just seems like all news seems to be bad news. But what we've always seen is that we are a resilient nation, and many times, in this society now, people don't know their neighbors, that we live in these boxes and we rarely, we text, we type on we don't communicate. However, when times of need is when you really see this beautiful side of human nature, that people, whether it's in your own town or you turn on the TV and you see that, another state, someone that's 1,000 miles away has just lost everything, and it kind of gives us that moment to pause and think of all the things we were so stressful about. Suddenly we have so much for, and so recently, in this past year, there was the big tornado that had hit Joplin, Missouri, and Be the Star You Are came forward and donated. I know you have the exact numbers of everything, but
we're up to, as of today, $45,000 in brand new books have been shipped to 262 classrooms that were destroyed, 16 schools, and clinics in Joplin. And we have to thank many of the authors who were guests on this show, Heather, for stepping forward, because I contacted people, and they got involved and they shipped.
Yeah, and just as you said, before, getting back to the whole thing is that books are powerful things, and whether, it's textbooks or it's a big thing with Be the Star, or it's the inspirational books of sometimes just reading a little quote in something is that it stays with you. And I know for me personally, I'm recently going back and taking some additional classes, and that whole thing of having a textbook, the thought of having a book and that it's yours, you can make your notes and comments, and it's just really been, these people have lost everything, and to be receiving something, especially an inspirational piece is amazing. And then getting back onto just the tornado side of it, of how violent, and when I was researching all about tornadoes, it's fascinating, just our climate. There's things that, again, there's so many things in life, we worry about car accidents and money and this, but when it comes to Mother Nature, that is something we are able to plan for, expect, but it has its own destruction plan that we can't avoid. And there's so many times it's just trying to find that scientists can't even truly define what a tornado is. The definition is still out there because there's so many various forms of it. Just like, just how there's a million different ways to say ice or snow. It's similar with tornadoes. There's so many different degrees of whether the size and the twist and the climatology of it is that the United States actually has the most tornadoes out of any other country, and that's nearly 4 times that's estimated in Europe. And there's actually places, Southeast Asia that have many, many tornadoes. And what happens, why North America, per se, has so many, and especially in the United States, is because of how our land formation is. The whole thing with the cool and hot air and the Rocky Mountains really contribute to it. So when it comes to mountains and oceans from, states and states away, when we have these flat plains, that's why they all accumulate. They're kind of this tornado alley. That was one thing that was fast, because here in California, we don't experience that. We see these little dust clouds every now and then. For us, we're big for the fires and the earthquakes, and again, more natural disasters that we can't plan for. And I think really in the big side, the thing of this is that there's these things in life that we can be prepared for. It's destruction. We really have no say over that. This is just life. And in the preparation, what's looking is that, here in California, everyone has their fire plans, their earthquake plans. And a big thing in these flat plains in this tornado alley, is having these basements, having, their, I guess I should say they're kind of their tornado shells, their little underground.
Right, they're a shelter, right, an underground shelter.
Shelters. And in some ways, there's a lot of misbeliefs too, myths towards it, that a lot of people think, that tornadoes can hop over, freeway paths, and that's actually completely false. When I was researching it, they say that people, if you go onto a freeway thing, that's actually probably one of the most dangerous places you could be, because of the structural damage that could happen with this. Also, a lot of times that these places, they start so small that here, they can start as the dust clouds and the covering, and when they can suck up, and sometimes lightning bolts and all these kinds of stuff get into. So the biggest thing, safety-wise, with over time, they really, thank you very much so to kind of the extremists, these tornado chasers, and science, that people that have taken that risk of chasing these things down, putting these camera systems in, trying to find more of the molecular biology and the chemistry of what makes these storm clouds, has actually breathed new light into safety measures for people. So,
and Heather, guess what? Yeah. We are getting out of time again.
As usual.
It's always so fascinating, but I think I just took so much time with my authors. But before you just give out the website, I just want to give a shout out and a thank you to just a couple of our authors who've been on our show, and some who haven't even been on the show who jumped forward, and that includes Brook Olbrys, Diana Zimmerman, John Woods, Maggie Mae Lewis, she's a teenager, Jeffrey Bennett, Alan Klein, and even Friends of the Lafayette Library got involved. So I just want to thank everybody, and if you'd like to help Operation Disaster Relief, we're packing books for Joplin, go to btsya.com. And thanks to all the teens. Just yesterday we shipped another 7 cases. So everybody's working hard. So give out the website, Heath, and we'll continue this conversation again.
Most definitely. And again, if you would like to help donate with any of this or even purchasing these books for yourself, check out BeTheStarYouAre.com, BeTheStarYouAre.org, as well as CarmonyClutches.com, both with a K.
And I just want to give our sincere condolences to the families of the men and women who died in the helicopter crash in Afghanistan. It is truly tragic. And to anyone across the country who's lost someone in our armed forces, they're out there working hard for us. And also to the families in England and London with the riots, may there be peace with you now. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Heather, for coming on here, and sorry to cut you off, but we will be back next week. And until then, celebrate, go out in the world and be the star you are. I'm Cynthia Brian.
And I'm Heather Brittany.
And we are saying ciao for now. Be the star you are. Thanks for joining us. Come play with us next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you for being part of our Star Galaxy on today's episode of Starstyle, Be the Star You Are. We hope you've enjoyed the commentary and are motivated to dream big, overcome obstacles, and realize your potential. For further information, visit www.starstyleradio.com. Join our Power Party next week right here on World Talk Radio as Cynthia Brian, Heather Brittany, and the pioneers of the planet pump up the energy with positive, uplifting, life-changing radio. Until then, be the star you are.